The second aspect of this new currency, according to Andy Schectman, is price. It is true that we produce and consume these commodities, but we lack a mechanism for setting prices that will balance supply and demand. This is why, he claims, I have been saying for the past 2 years that you will see the Western system, including the COMEX and the BNA, exposed for what it is, a scam, if you will, where the futures market is controlling the price of the underlying commodity, and it is not right. Let me just read this to you because it's very telling. He says it's impossible to make any strategic planning for economic development if you do not control prices of basic commodities. Price formation with this new currency to get rid of the Western exchanges of commodities. In a recent interview, Andy Schectman highlighted concerning aspects of the global economy, shedding light on the manipulation within Western exchanges. Now, during the COVID pandemic, the price for oil fell to nearly zero. I guess that encapsulates my point, where an exchange can push oil down to -40 a barrel. That's not right anyhow. Openness, because James Rickards just announced that a common settlement currency would be introduced during the August summit in Johannesburg. Think about it differently, like in crypto speak, mass adoption. Andy says that 35 more countries have formally applied to the BRICS, and another 20 or more have applied informally. Last year, a lot of people came out of that meeting and said, no, we're going to task our finance ministers with going back to the drawing board and presenting their new findings at the meeting here in Russia in October. Look at what Saudi Arabia has accomplished in a few short years. In addition to applying to the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the world's largest regional financial and military organization, they have joined the BRICS, and like James Rickards stated, they too will join BRICS. And he also notes that I have been saying for 3 years that Saudi Arabia has applied to join the BRICS Development Bank, and that these are the same countries that are invested in the Belt Road Initiative. Saudi Arabia has also signed military agreements with Russia in order to be protected, and it is the protection of the Saudi kingdom that grants the US dollar hegemony. Thus, when a nation like Brazil, which is in Russia's backyard and part of the BRICS, signs an executive order to go green that Biden did, weaponizing the dollar, our brain-dead Treasury Secretary goes there a few weeks ago and says, look, we need to not just sanction the Russian $380 billion in forex reserves. We must seize it in order to reconstruct the Ukraine. Therefore, if you disagree with us philosophically, we will seize your belongings rather than merely sanctioning them as we did with Iran. After all, we no longer require your assistance. Even if Saudi Arabia is the cornerstone of the dollar hegemony, you should realize that it is because of our actions that they, and consequently OPEC, value the dollar or oil in dollars, and then recycle the excess in U.S. Treasury. Look at what they've been up to, other from cultivating all these links, and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia claiming that China was the country's top trading partner this year. But for the next 50 years, well, those numbers matter. We are putting ourselves in a position to lose our status as the world's reserve currency, because when it comes to gold, all of these nations, China in particular, have been amassing gold for 16 consecutive months. Additionally, as the finance minister Sergei Glazov stated a few years ago, they will eventually issue a common settlement currency that will be a basket of local currencies and commodities. As it happens, we just learned of this a few days ago. And there was an interview conducted on, I believed, TASS, a Russian news agency. Andy suggests that people read and visit it as it's usually a few days ahead of Zero Hedge. The man who was interviewed there stated very clearly that, yes, we can confirm that we are working on a two-basket currency, one consisting of local currencies and the other of commodities. We are aware of all of this, and we know that gold, being Tier 1, is likely going to be very relevant in this. He also announced that it would be digital, similar to the M-Bridge project, which was created by Singapore, China, and the United Arab Emirates and permits cross-border trading of digital currencies between central banks without the need for the SWIFT system. In fact, only a small number of trades have been completed recently, so they claimed that it would be digital, with two currency baskets. However, I want you to read what he said because, in my opinion, this is the most crucial thing to remember. And he adds that He believes that what's happening with the BRICS, because, as Zoltan Poser stated, we are entering a system of commodities and transparency. So let me just read what they had to say because it is very telling. He states that the second part of this new currency is price, which is determined by Western speculation. It is true that we produce these commodities and we consume them. This is why I have been stating for the last 2 years that you will see the Western system, the COMEX, and the LBA exposed for what it is, as scam, if you will, where the futures market is controlling the price of the underlying commodity. He claims that it is impossible to make any strategic plans for economic development if you do not control prices of basic commodities. Price formation with this new currency should get rid of the Western exchanges of commodities. However, he is incorrect there. The price of oil fell to nearly zero during the COVID pandemic. Instead, it fell to -$40 a barrel. But we do not have our own price mechanism which will balance supply and demand. In his discussion of the evolving global commodity pricing scene, Andy Schectman highlights the emergence of new hubs such as the Shanghai Gold Market, Dubai's Market, and the Moscow Exchange for Metals. The London Metal Exchange is one of China's major acquisitions, and he emphasizes the country's move away from Western exchanges like the Chicago Commodities Exchange. The London Metal Exchange, LME, was acquired by the Chinese approximately 3 to 4 years ago. Although the LME primarily deals in base metals, it also handles some precious metals. Schectman highlights the gradual accumulation of commodities and the significance of this shift towards transparency and commodity-based systems. These exchanges, the Moscow Metals Exchange, the Shanghai Gold Exchange, and the exchange in Dubai, will, in my opinion, serve as the epicenters for commodity pricing. Mostly copper, zinc, lead, steel, aluminum, and other similar materials. They recently announced that they will begin storing the metals that are traded on the London Metal Exchange, LME, in China. These are base metals, not precious metals. They also recently announced that they will launch the BRICS Grain Exchange. Since the Chicago Commodity Exchange sets most of the prices, what they are doing is encouraging mass adoption by approaching tasks methodically and carefully before acting suddenly and dramatically. They are essentially controlling all commodities, including soft metals like corn, wheat, and soybeans. As a result, they are terminating various agreements with American farmers and purchasing commodities from Brazil in yuan, which can be instantly converted into gold on the Shanghai Gold Exchange. Since gold is their only other Tier 1 asset, they are also constructing a grain exchange to replace the CONEX and the Mercantile Exchange. 400 million ounces of silver have almost been delivered off of CONEX in the previous 2 years, and they are pickpocketing using the Western reduction of price for everything that is not fixed. They own the LME, which will ultimately be the platform for all industrial metals. That's almost exactly what India has imported, so you can see how methodical this is. Andy believes that they are using Western suppression and leverage against us until no one is foolish enough to deliver at these prices, at which point everything comes together at one point at which the prices are quoted on other exchanges before being listed on the Shanghai Metals Exchange. The price of silver is $3 an ounce higher in Shanghai than it is in the US and in London, and the price of gold is about $80 higher. As a result, sophisticated traders who have access to all 3 markets will buy in London, buy in Chicago, and deliver in Shanghai. This is starting to kind of do that right now. I believe it's a major problem because they are gradually building up what Zoltan Poser stated is a system controlled by commodities rather than transparent or opaque debt instruments. Thanks for tuning in today. We've covered some important insights highlighting the shift towards commodity-based systems and transparency. From the emergence of new commodity pricing centers like the Moscow Exchange for Metals to China's strategic acquisitions in the commodity market, it's evident that significant changes are underway. Always keep in mind that these developments have far-reaching implications for global economics. It's a big deal that the BRICS are accumulating metals. In conclusion, the recent secret acquisitions made by the BRICS nations have sent ripples through the global economic landscape, especially in relation to the stability of the U.S. economy. With the purchase of strategic assets like gold, cryptocurrencies, and rare earth metals, these nations are positioning themselves for greater economic independence and influence. The move indicates a growing desire among emerging economies to diversify away from traditional U.S.-dominated financial instruments and reserve currencies. For investors, these developments signal the importance of diversifying portfolios and paying attention to emerging trends in the global economy. The BRICS acquisitions highlight the potential value of assets like gold and cryptocurrencies as hedges against economic instability, as well as the strategic importance of rare earth metals in various industries. As such, investors may consider allocating a portion of their assets to these alternative investments to mitigate risks associated with a potential downturn in the U.S. economy. However, it's important to note that while these acquisitions may pose challenges to the U.S. economy in the long term, they are not necessarily indicative of an imminent crash. The U.S. economy remains resilient and adaptive, with a diverse range of industries and strengths. Moreover, economic cooperation and diplomacy between nations can mitigate potential conflicts and disruptions caused by these developments. In summary, the recent acquisitions by the BRICS nations underscore the changing dynamics of the global economy and the increasing influence of emerging markets. Investors should pay attention to these developments and consider diversifying their portfolios accordingly. Assets like gold, cryptocurrencies, and rare earth metals may play a crucial role in hedging against economic instability and providing long-term growth opportunities. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more investing tutorials and market updates. Your support helps us continue to provide valuable content to our audience. Stay tuned for our next video, and until then, happy investing!